Kermit the Frog is now offensive. Democrats are targeting major conservative news outlets, and I am being censored by Google. And I have a lot to say about that. So our lead story is by the once a newspaper, the New York Post. And they say Disney slaps the Muppet Show with offensive content disclaimer. The article starts off by saying even the Muppets are offensive these days. Jeez Louise. Everything is offensive. Anyone who streams the Muppet Show on Disney Plus will see a disclaimer first, warning of offensive content. Ooh. This doesn't even make sense actually if you think about it, right? Because the people that are watching the show aren't the ones that think it's offensive. Why would you pay $6.99 a month for a show that you thought was offensive, or a company that you thought was pushing something that was offensive? So this disclaimer is going out to people that are fans of the show, not people that think it's offensive content. Just genius stuff, Disney. Jeez Louise. Disney released 5 seasons of the iconic show for streaming on Friday, allowing viewers to enjoy watching Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, Fuzzy Bear, and their celebrity guests as part of its $6.99 a month service. You can't even make it through this article without laughing. There's people out there that literally think a stuffed frog, a pig, and a bear are offensive. You can't make this stuff up. This is too good. The article goes on and says the disclaimer shown prior to each episode warns viewers that the future shows stereotypes and mistreatment of people or cultures. Entirely subjective. But, I mean, even the whole premise of the show, right? I mean, they're puppets. They're made of cloth and cotton. The whole purpose is to exaggerate futures, exaggerate what the person is saying that is doing the voice of the puppet. And people learn from this show of what other cultures are like, what other cultures enjoy. And to think that it is entirely offensive to everybody, it's mind-boggling that they would even think about doing this. This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people's cultures. Again, that's entirely subjective. These stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now, the disclaimer states. Rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together. A little bit of a double standard here in hypocrisy, right? Because at one end, they're posting something on their service that they disagree with. But on the other end, they're going to fire an employee, meaning Gina Carano, that they disagree with for posting something that they disagree with. If you took this same article and you just replaced it with Gina Carano, right? And said, rather than remove her content, we want to acknowledge her harmful impact on what she posted, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together, she could still have a job, and you could have still kept her employed and working on The Mandalorian. But rather than doing that, you decide to have a double standard here, post something that you think is offensive and wrong to others, and just say, oh, well, it could spark dialogue. You could say the exact same thing about Gina Carano's case, and you decided to get rid of her, censor her, and fire her. It's just unbelievable the hypocrisy that this company is doing. The article goes on to say it's unstated precisely what Disney considers to be offensive on the show. Yes, because what somebody finds offensive is purely subjective. They don't even know what they think is offensive on the show. They're just posting something to appease to the leftist mob. But some characters depict Native American, Middle Eastern, and Asian people. If somebody finds it offensive, that is mind-blowing. Doesn't the left tout every single week that these Native Americans, Middle Eastern, and Asian people are underrepresented in Hollywood? Shouldn't you want to see them on the Muppets? It literally doesn't make sense. You try to wrap your head around the logic of the left, and it's literally impossible to do, and you'll just end up spinning your wheels and wasting your time. The article ends off by saying the warning will also appear before some iconic movies, including Aristocrats, Dumbo, Peter Pan, and the Swiss Family Robinson. Well, isn't that just lovely? Because the people that want to see all this stuff enjoy watching these iconic movies. They want to know that what they're watching is offensive, even though they don't agree that it's offensive. I mean, we literally, you try to wrap your head around this stuff and make sense of it, and it's almost even hard to talk about it because it's that comical, and you're trying to get through it without laughing. But there you have it, folks. Disney finds Kermit the Frog offensive. Maybe Kermit Frog's going to be out of a job one day. Well, the Daily Wire also has an article here where it says Kermit canceled ? Disney slaps offensive content label on the Muppet Show. And there you have it. Kermit the Frog without a job, folks, sitting on the park bench. One thing I love about the Daily Wire here is they have these Twitter postings that people have, and they highlight them. And it says here, nothing screams offensive like furry puppets. When I think of a culture danger to society, it's obviously Jim Harrison's Muppets. I couldn't agree with you more, Tom. They're terrifying, they're evil, and they're out to get you. Billy says here, I'm surprised the internet hasn't tried canceling the Muppets Swedish Chef yet, since every and anything is offensive now. I couldn't agree with you more. They're going to come with the Swedish Chef. They're going to come after you. And now that you highlighted it, Disney's probably going to see it, and they're probably going to fire the Swedish Chef. They're going to cancel him. I personally love the Muppets. It's a great show. You learn a lot about other people's cultures, and it's an iconic show. There's nothing offensive about it. This is just touting the leftist mob and just trying to appease them, and it's quite disgusting. And Disney, I hope you change your ways. You push great content. You don't need to do stuff like this. Again, the people that are going to be watching this content, watching the Muppets, loves it and enjoys it, and all you're doing is ruining the experience for them by touting the stuff, and there's no reason for it. Get rid of it. People are going to watch it. They're going to love it, and they're going to support and pay the $6.99 a month. So not only are Democrats and the big tech targeting the small conservatives on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, but now they are targeting the big news conservative outlets. CNBC writes, Democrats ask cable and streaming providers about their role in spreading misinformation ahead of Capitol riot. Well, just to give my little 2 cents on the Capitol riot, I think it's absolutely egregious and disgusting what those people did, and it's something that should have never happened and should have never been done. And I also think Trump did not tell those people to do it. Those people went on their own accord. Nobody made them do it. They did it themselves, and they're absolutely insane. They are not conservatives, and they are not Republicans. I don't care what anybody says. In my mind, they are absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with them. That's my 2 cents. It says here, lawmakers are looking beyond the social media companies when it comes to cracking down on misinformation. If you want to rephrase that, that's just saying cracking down on free speech. They just use a different word. Representatives of California, lovely, my state, sent letters to top executives within these major companies on Monday, urging them to address misinformation on their services. They linked disinformation and conspiracy theories to the radicalization of people who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6 as lawmakers moved to affirm President Joe Biden's victory. Misinformation on TV has led to our political polluted information environment that radicalizes individuals to commit serious acts and rejects public health best practices, among other issues in our public discourse, the lawmakers wrote in the letters. What's interesting here, it says that the 2 representatives asked the providers how they determined whether to carry a channel and how they attempted to manage the spread of disinformation and incitement of violence between the 2020 election and January 6th insurrection. What's interesting here is they go on and they talk about conservative news outlets. They don't talk about CNN, MSNBC, all these other places. They hone in on conservative news outlets. Fox News, Newsmax, and One American News Network as channels that aired misinformation in the lead up to the riot that had spread false information about COVID-19. It's kind of interesting that they're focusing and they're honing in just on conservatives, right? But there's no bias in this, right? Oh, come on. It's all made up. They're not looking at conservatives and trying to get rid and censor them. No way. That's crazy talk, right? It's conspiracy theories. It's misinformation. It's not real. The lawmakers also asked the companies if they plan to continue carrying the channels and why. Interesting. But it's just spread of misinformation. We're not trying to get rid of conservative news outlets. We're not trying to censor them, not just on Twitter or Google, Facebook, all these other platforms like YouTube. And now we're going after the news outlets, the major news outlets, and asking the companies, why are you even carrying these people if they're spreading misinformation? Oh, man. The letters show that lawmakers are still looking to hold traditional information sources accountable while they grill executives for newer platforms such as Facebook and Twitter over their roles in amplifying lies. The letters come ahead of a hearing Wednesday, Fanning the Flames, Disinformation and Extremism in the Media, hosted by a subcommittee of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which both the representatives sit. So let's look at this next paragraph here. Let's zoom in on it. It says, as the most watched cable news channel throughout 2020, Fox News Media provided millions of Americans with an in-depth reporting, breaking news coverage, and clear opinion. Again, clear opinion. Okay. The company said in a statement, for individual members of Congress to highlight political speech they do not like and demand cable distributors engage in viewpoint discriminations sets a terrible precedent. And they're absolutely right here. Again, it talks about an opinion, and Fox News is clear about what they post on a conservative basis or a Republican basis. And what I mean by that is they talk about conservative values, they talk about conservative ideas and things of that nature. Where you look at CNN and they think that they're an unbiased news outlet. They're not coming out and saying they're people of the left like MSNBC does. So here, when they talk about a clear opinion, it is clear that the opinions that they're giving, they think is on the conservative right. But it's interesting that they're the ones that are honing in on just these companies, these big companies like this that are conservative, saying that their viewpoint is misleading, it is wrong, it is incorrect. What I like here is that it says Republicans quickly pushed back on the two Democrats, with Republican Federal Communications Commissioner Brendan Carr calling it chilling transgression of the free speech rights that every media outlet in this country enjoys. See, he honed in on that first sentence. I don't know if he read this article or what type of conversation was being said or the statement that was being given, but he's absolutely right. This is something that's going against free speech, and I'm not the only one that honed in on it. Clearly, he did as well. It says later in the article, a Republican aide for the House Energy and Commerce Committee said in a statement, the majority is flirting with violating the First Amendment. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Misinformation or not, somebody has a right to give that speech, which is called free speech. And if you don't like it, don't listen to it or find another outlet. It says, should the government be pressuring private industries to censor legally protected content and suppress the freedom of the press? The answer is obviously no. If a free and independent press is still valued and mainstream in America, the censorship campaign should alarm every single journalist and media and member of the media. And he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Left, right, center, you should be horrified that this stuff is going on this big out there and blatant out there in the public. The fact that they're now going to these mainstream networks and they're asking them, hey, why are you posting these people's content? Aren't they given conspiracy theories? Aren't they given misinformation? That should be left up to the viewer. That should be left up to the reader to decide what is right and what is wrong. It is not up to the government to decide and dictate for you what is right and what is wrong, what is free speech and what isn't free speech. This stuff really gets me fired up. Whenever they talk about trying to suppress people or get rid of free speech, I think everybody should have the right to talk, whether I agree with them or disagree with them. I think the left should have all the free speech that they want in the world. I will always stand up for them to have the right to say whatever they want to say. And I think conservatives should have that same right as well. And what the Democrats and the left are constantly trying to do is suppress us and get rid of us. There's an easy reply to this. It might be misinformation, it might not be. But it's free speech, so get used to it. I want to talk about how Google is censoring me, which is quite crazy because this is only my second episode. I don't even have enough content there for them to censor if you think about it. Well, since I'm a new channel, I want to be able to put my name and my face and my image out there for the world to see. And so I thought there's no better way than to create a Google ad and post it all over YouTube so people can be attracted to my channel. Well, what happens is that you create an advertisement and Google has to authorize it and accept it so that it could be posted. Well, on the first go around, I got denied. And the reason why I got denied is they said it had to do with the election. My video, my first episode, if you've seen it, has nothing to do with the election at all. We talked about Gina Carano and a few other things. I don't even think the word election even came out of my mouth. I don't even think the word fraud came out of my mouth. I don't even think we talked about Trump, even though I think we should be able to talk about Trump and all those other things. It's not even in the realm of talking about the election, and somehow they denied it. I even went a step further of removing certain tags that were in the video that maybe for some odd reason could be attributed to the election fraud. Even upon doing that, it still was not good enough because I tried to now get it approved a second time and it got denied once again. I'm in the midst of trying to get it approved a third time. Mind you, I didn't change a single thing. So if this thing gets approved the third time, there is something definitely fishy going on behind the scenes. And I don't agree with it and I don't like it. If big tech is going to censor us like this, if they're going to stop us from advertising on their platforms, my hope is that us conservatives can band together and share each other's videos on our social media sites so that we can get our message across to the entire world. If you like my channel, please not only like and subscribe, but please share with your friends or family or other conservatives who haven't seen me yet so that I can get my message across and share it with the entire world. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Bald Brad Show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, share this with the entire world, and I look forward to seeing you for the next one.